Hi, I'm Bobby Dean, and you're watching Dante's
Boxing Nation.
Boxing Nation.
Okay, so you guys know the story. Jaron Ennis, he just knocked out Ennis. He unified the belts, and we know that Jaron Ennis's main goal is to become undisputed at 147. So shortly after Jaron Ennis knocked out Ennis, it was announced that Brian Norman will be fighting against Jin Sasaka in Japan. Now listen, in defense of Brian Norman Jr., this is a good fight. Norman versus Sasaki in Japan, it is a good fight. But the problem is a unification bout between Jaron Ennis and Brian Norman. There is no fight bigger than that. And it's the most significant fight you can make at 147. So after it was announced that Brian Norman Jr. will be fighting against Jin Sasaki in Japan, Eddie Hearn, he did this interview reacting to the news.
He's absolutely available now. You know, I mean, we've made them an offer last week. And we've even said to them, if you are taking that fight in Japan, let's lock the fight in for after that. October, November, December, whenever. And they come back and say, we don't want to talk about any other fights until we have this fight. I'm just like, fuck. So, I don't know. I mean, we can't rely on Brian Norman to chase any kind of greatness because the purse is outrageous in terms of what he's made. And, you know, it's a massive purse that we've offered him. So,
okay, so I made a video reporting all of this that transpired. And Brian Norman Sr., he responds to me by saying, this is Brian Norman Sr., and we did agree to fight after our signed fight on June 19th that was always known about and not a secret. Eddie full of shit and trying to muddy the waters and use us as scapegoats. We publicly called out Boots over and over. He said after his last fight, he was going on a vacation and partying. Research it. Yes, that's true. Boots, he did say he's going on vacation when they asked him what's next. But this is what almost every single boxer says after they just get a victory. They basically say, look, I don't want to talk about what's next. I'm about to spend time with the family. I'm about to go on vacation, etc., etc., etc. But that doesn't change the fact that the people behind the scenes will negotiate Boots' next fight, which is exactly what happened because Eddie Hearn reached out to Norman's camp. And Norman Sr. is not denying the fact that Eddie reached out to them. Then Sr., he says, after my son fight, he said, I want the winner of Ennis and Boots. What the F y'all expect him to do? I thought since you one of the originals in the podcast game, you would see through the bullshit. It's not even hard to see. Ask yourself, who's calling out who? Brother, there ain't nobody in this game that sees through the bullshit more than I do. Then someone responded to me on IG and they said, if you want to speak directly to Brian Norman Jr. or Sr., respond and stop putting half shit out regarding that situation. Respectfully, Eddie Hearn is sharp and takes advantage of the ignorance that the black boxing public and public in general. In short, he's a hell of a promoter. So going back to Norman, I'm trying to find out if they are planning on fighting Boots after the Sasaki fight. Like, is that a guarantee? So I asked Senior, are you guys going to fight him next after the Jin Sasaki fight? Senior, he says, absolutely. We said that. Eddie is a piece of shit in the way he worded it. He said we don't want to talk about any other fight until after Jin. No, we said, yes, we're not negotiating another fight till after Jin. We can't negotiate a fight with a fight. It's bad business. Okay, so let me just interject right there. That is exactly what Eddie Hearn said. So what Norman Sr. is saying is no different than what Eddie Hearn said. Eddie Hearn said, it's okay, you guys are going to go to Japan and fight Sasaki. But let's go ahead and negotiate a fight right now that you fight Boots after the Sasaki fight. And Team Norman said they did not want to negotiate a fight until after the Sasaki fight. This is exactly what Eddie Hearn said. Then Norman Sr., he says Canelo didn't sign to fight Crawford till after the Skull fight. This is easy to see. Eddie trying some other shit and trying to use us. Yes, we agreed verbally to fight Boots next. Why didn't Eddie say that? Well, in response to that, if Team Norman told Eddie Hearn don't worry, we are fighting against Boots next, regardless of the negotiations, then Eddie, he should have told the public that Team Norman said that they will fight Boots next. But the problem with that is if Team Norman is not willing to negotiate before the Sasaki fight, then that means even if they do come to the negotiation table after the Sasaki fight and negotiate, there's no guarantee they're going to agree to all of the terms. So in response to that, I say, wait, hold on. You said Boots and his team didn't say nothing, but Boots' promoter reached out to you to make the fight, right? You told me that Canelo didn't sign a contract to fight Crawford till after the Skull fight, but actually Canelo, he had already agreed to fight Crawford in September. All he had to do was get past Skull, and they already talked about money before the Skull fight. Just out of curiosity, how come you didn't negotiate a fight with Boots right now, just to see if you could get the money you were looking for? Okay, guys, before we continue, let's make this very clear. Canelo Alvarez had already signed a 5-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh that included the Terence Crawford fight, and that was before Canelo fought William Skull. It is a 5-fight deal that is supposed to be worth $400 million. Okay, so this was Norman Sr.'s response to my last question. He said, we're not negotiating a fight when we have a fight. We already agreed to fight Boots. This shit is literally nothing. If we telling you, and we have been telling you, yes, we will fight him even before he fought Stanionis now 4 weeks away from our fight, he decided he wants to cause friction. All that, we could be fighting Boots right now if he wanted it. This is a nothing conversation. Something else is about to happen, and he gonna play like people afraid of Boots. Notice he never said in the interview, we agreed. Why not? So my last question was, you said you could have been fighting Boots right now. Did you ever contact Eddie Hearn after Boots' last fight? Or did Eddie Hearn contact you guys after Boots' last fight? He responded by saying, why would I contact Eddie Hearn? To ask for a fight? It don't work like that. The person promoting the fight do the contacting. Well, actually, in this case, that's exactly what happened. The promoter reached out to try to make this fight. And once again, Team Norman, they're not denying that Eddie Hearn actually reached out to them to make this fight. So listen, Team Norman, they're making it official that they are going to fight Jaron Ennis, assuming they get past Jin Sasaki. Okay, first things first, when I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram saying, look, man, if you want to interview him and get his take, you can interview him. Just so you guys know, I haven't done an interview or even a live show in almost 7 years. I plan on starting to do my live show again, hopefully soon. But for now, I won't be doing any interviews soon until I start my live podcast again. Now let's talk about what Norman was implying when it comes to Eddie Hearn, when it comes to him being full of etc., etc., etc. I mean, you guys have to remember, Eddie Hearn's own father, he actually said on a microphone, sitting next to black boxers, he said at one point, we were the slave masters in the sport of boxing.
Arrangement with Dylan White. Isn't that weird? Why do we have... He's not tied up like the slave contract of yesteryear. When I was running boxing, it was much easier. We were slave traders. We had these guys and they were working for us and we was the boss.
So this is AKA Slave Trader Sr., the man and father that raised Eddie Hearn. The man that just recently said that he loves Teofimo Lopez. But after one of Gervonta's impressive knockout wins, Eddie Hearn's reaction and response was, he is not a deep thinker and he is inarticulate. And that's what makes Tank so dangerous in the ring. Which is so crazy because a lot of people would have expected him to call Teofimo Lopez inarticulate and not a deep thinker. I bring all this up to say we know that Eddie Hearn is extremely racially biased. And that's the point that Norman Sr. was trying to make to me. But see, guys, I truly understand these racial double standards that exist in the sport of boxing. When boxers talk about it, when trainers talk about it, they're usually only talking about it when it relates to their fighter in particular. They're usually just saying this in defense of their fighter personally. But when I am exposing these double standards, I am talking about it in general, no matter who the fighter is. And what I can tell you guys from a lot of experience is Eddie Hearn, When it comes to two black fighters, he's not going to be as biased because it's two black fighters. It's the lesser of two evils. Now, if you guys remember when Eddie Hearn was promoting Demetrius Andrade, and Andrade had been calling out Canelo for years, even though Eddie Hearn was Demetrius Andrade's promoter, he never tried to make an Andrade-Canelo Alvarez fight because he felt Canelo might lose that fight, and he was trying to protect Canelo. Even by Eddie's own admission, he says that he's biased when it comes to Canelo because he's a big fan of Canelo's. So Eddie Hearn was not doing his job as a promoter when it came to promoting Demetrius Andrade. Because if Andrade would have got the Canelo Alvarez fight and beat Canelo, Andrade would have been a huge star. So what did Eddie Hearn start doing? Eddie started pushing for Andrade to fight against Charlo, the two black fighters that are aggressively calling out Canelo Alvarez. Jamal Charlo is Canelo's #1 contender, and Demetrius Andrade is the other champion in Canelo Alvarez's weight class. They're both trying to chase the guy that fans are saying is the face of boxing, so it obviously makes more sense that they would want to fight Canelo than fight against each other. But Eddie Hearn is ignoring an Andrade versus Canelo fight, and he wants to make Andrade versus Charlo because it's the lesser of two evils. Chris Mannix, arguably the most racist boxing analyst in the sport of boxing today. I remember at the time when Charlo and Andrade were both aggressively calling out both Canelo and Golovkin. Golovkin had just got a win, and Chris Mannix, he was interviewing Golovkin. Andrade hopped in the ring. Keep in mind, these are two DAZN fighters, right? Andrade hops in the ring, security pushes him off, right? But he's in the ring. He's only a couple of feet away from Golovkin as Golovkin does this interview with Chris Mannix. Chris Mannix looks at Andrade and completely ignores the fact that he's in the ring, and he continues on with the Golovkin interview, not even mentioning Andrade's name. And at the time, Andrade is the champion at 168, just like Golovkin is. Chris Mannix didn't even want Andrade to get the exposure of calling out Golovkin because he did not want that pressure to be on Golovkin to have to fight Andrade. Oh, but when it came to Devin Haney and Gary Russell beefing, going back and forth, talking about signing contracts to fight against each other, guess who was doing podcast shows pushing for this fight and exposing Gary Russell for not taking the fight? It was Chris Mannix, because it was two black fighters. Chris Mannix, he was on his podcast saying, why won't Gary Russell take the fight? He's providing receipts. The fight was offered to him. DAZN wants to fight. So how come Gary didn't take the fight, et cetera, et cetera. But when it came to Canelo and Golovkin, or when it came to Devin Haney calling out Teofimo at the time, witness protection status. Chris Mannix, he would constantly push for Golovkin versus Munguia or Canelo versus Munguia, but never push for Golovkin or Canelo versus Andrade. So my point is, if Jaron Ennis wants to fight another black fighter, Eddie, he's not going to get in the way of that. There's no fighter for him to protect. He damn sure not trying to protect Boots, and he's not trying to protect Brian Norman either. Does Brian Norman really want it? They say they want it. They say they're going to take the fight after the Sensaki fight. We'll see if that happens. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Knockouts. What do you guys ask for? I deliver. So when I sit there and listen to you say, "Oh, Jaime Munguia, let's fight Triple G," that's not in my direction. You're advocating the wrong fight. Jaime Munguia need to be fighting me if he's looking to fight Triple G, or Triple G, or the winner or loser of Murata. I'll fight either one of them because they're both elite top fighters, and I want to get in there with the best. I want to prove that I'm able to get in there and win.
What kind of message do you think you sent to the rest of the middleweight division?
I mean, I'm 31-0, WBO champion, 2000 Olympian. What do I got to keep on doing? I don't get it. That's it. Line them up. That's it. I don't need to keep on doing all the extra shit. You need to make sure you help me get that fight. Chris Mannix, you, my boy.
I think you just said
Eddie Hearn needs to make sure I get that fight. You, my boy.
Let's ask Eddie Hearn.
And the fans need to demand these fights. That's it. The fans need to stop letting these people walk away with these easy-ass fights and need to fight the best. That's all.
Well, Eddie, let me ask you this. You asked for a defining performance from Demetrius Andrade. You got one tonight. How do you get him that big fight?
Well, boxing, like he said, fans should get him this big fight. You've got a guy here, he's 31-0. He's an American great. He's a proud man. He's a two-weight world champion. And you've got Jamal Charlo. He's 32-0. What is going on with boxing when you've got two great undefeated American world champions in the same division and they won't share the ring together.
All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, the fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Diki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodiki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.